Good morning. I hope everybody that listens is keeping well. I'm outside for a walk, like every morning. Well, lately I've been sick, so I restarted doing these walks. It's really good for the spirits. Before getting out of the house, as I was doing my breakfast and all of that stuff, I was listening to an hour presentation of this doctor from Canada, one of the few doctors that still uses a little bit of discernment, facts, logic. But then again, it was only scratching the surface, but it's good enough. It's good enough. I suppose he can't really go deep into the issue of identity politics. You can't really go that deep. He either can't or is afraid because it kind of sets people off when you speak the truth. You have to be very gentle, and go around the subject don't go deep. At least that's what I think. You know, you can't really go deep because identity politics is based on dichotomous logic. You know, identity politics. I don't know the origin, but it's as old as humanity. Plato used to talk about this group of people that use these tactics, and eventually, the only denomination you can come up with is religion. It's almost like a religion. It's a group of very intelligent people, evil intelligent people, right? Like demonic stuff. And they have realized they can hack humans using the binary. Most humans are lazy and they will choose binary because it doesn't require very mentation or concentration. It doesn't require thinking. It doesn't require wisdom. So they notice they can infect people's minds with concepts, with words, with politics. In the binary, it's easy because binary is either this or that. It's either or, and there's no other choice. You either choose one side or the other. And that's where these identity politics all are based on. I am not a doctor, all right? In fact, I take that, appellation or title as an insult. I think, doctors nowadays are not really doctors anymore. They're not thinkers at all. 99% of them are actually doing this as a job, as an income, and they are, like that human centipede. They are smelling each other's flatulence and agreeing with everybody. And if you don't agree with the collective, they will take the title away. So, like I said, they are doing it as an income. This uh, peer review, this conformity, right? This what they call consensus is then what becomes reality. But consensus is not the truth. Consensus is not reality. This is why all these weird politics that we have, Marxists, are based on consensus. Yes, once they get their foot through the door, it becomes a slippery slope. We end up, in a world in which, in your, CV, when you're hoping to find a job nowadays, they want you to be the most diverse person possible. Yeah, they don't want normal people anymore. So anyway, it became really strong in recent times, this identity politics, around the French Revolution. And they post their work, online. They are not afraid or shamed. Yeah, you can find it online. There's excellent researchers. Of course, I didn't went through the whole, literature, but there's, a lot, and they are constantly posting new bullshit ideas. There's this concept, for instance, that was invented around, I don't know, the French Revolution probably as well. This concept of ethnicity, for instance, it didn't exist. It's just people. People is just people, but they had to come up with this idea, this concept of ethnicity to divide people into boxes. Once people are divided, then it's easy to what? Control them, to rule over them. And the ones who don't want to use their, brain fall into the trap of choosing this or that. That is almost like a parasitic, like a tapeworm or a fluke that enters their brain and commands them, you know, or in technological terms, like a virus that enters and then it rules their lives. It's either this or that. And if you give another option, then the whole, establishment, whatever, if you're having a discussion with someone in private, or if you refuse to participate in mandates, you disobey, you become disobedient, you become problematic, and that's when they exaggerate. They have this, like a beehive, when they sense the presence of something unusual, they have this chemical that is sprayed through the beehive, and everybody becomes agitated. What's going on? What's going on? Someone came along and inserted a different path. For instance, in the area of ethnicity, they started adding into the end of words the ism, at the end. All isms that are added at the end of an idea, of a concept, are for the purposes of dividing, dehumanizing, discriminating. Yes, it's either this or that, and it has that purpose. So, in the concept of race, there's no such thing as ethnicity or race. It's just people. What you have to see in terms of metaphysical, what we have to see is that there's good people, bad people, and everybody else in between. All right, it's a trinity. Like in metaphysics in the past, everything was composed of a trinity, at least a trinity. It has to be. That's how this whole world is constructed. It's a trinity. It's composed of three things. But even in New Age or modern thinkers that I actually, sometimes listen to, they fall into dichotomy. They think the world is binary, and I noticed that most of these that think the world is binary, men and women, dark and day, they think because they have basis in Christianity, and I'm like, yeah, that explains a lot. If it's based on any religion from the Abrahamics, etc., it's binary. It's not a binary, all right? The Platonists, the ancient Indians, the Egyptians, they saw the world as a trinity, meaning there's this, that, and something in between. It's not binary. So when you're talking about racism, it's not either this or that. No, there's good people, bad people, and people in between. All right? The ones who are bad people towards you're just a racist. They are either projecting or putting you in the box. They are discriminating you. You could also call it bigotry. And like that, you can deconstruct this all you want. You can find examples everywhere. For instance, life. Life is the consubstantiality of three things: the soul, consciousness, and the physical. That's what the Pythagoreans, used to, say. That's where their interpretation, where the isosceles, triangle comes from. It's this triad. It's this trinity: soul, physical or matter, and so the consciousness. They could dissect it into soul, consciousness, and water, because water is the physical. It's the medium, right? So anyway, I don't have all the details right now, but it's something like that. I'll probably, make a small video about that. Or I'll just post in the description, an article written by someone else more, intelligent than me. You guys can check it out. So yeah, I'll put it in the description. You guys can check it out. It's not a binary. It's a trinity. It's always been a trinity. Binary, it puts people against each other. Binary is suggesting that there's a contradiction. There's no contradictions in the world. What you can find them is in people's, logic. They are defective. They can't. I wouldn't say defective. Because I think there's a cure for it, but most people don't want a cure. They prefer to live in the binary world because it's easy, either this or that, like children. They don't want to think too much. That would require, effort. And most people are lazy, like I was trying to say. The schooling system is also based on binary. It's either what the teacher says or else, and it creates, NPCs. When you go to school, you're having a lobotomy, basically. You are destroying the critical thinker. It's either this or that. You regurgitate or you don't pass. They don't want critical thinkers. They just want consumers, not, thinkers. So, in my opinion, this comes and goes, right? Because after, some centuries of dividing and ruling, the population kind of becomes tired, and then resistance is formed, and societies collapse. Yes, the pathological control grid is all over the place, and it starts very little, like a demon whispering in your ears. They are saying binary is easy, dichotomous is easy. It's either this or that. You don't need to think too much. Trust us. Go with us or go against us. Like when a war is happening, and they are like, are you on their side or are you on our side? If you're not on our side, you're against us. Why not stand in between? Why not choose to stay in between? But most people don't think in those terms. When something happens, they're like, oh, I'm on this side. No, I'm on the other side. That's what they want. The pathological control grid wants you to choose a side. Because once you are in this side, it doesn't matter what happens to the others, because they are always the bad ones. They are always the losers. They are always the, whatever happens to the others doesn't really matter, because that's how the dichotomies work. It's almost like I said, it becomes very slow. These evil geniuses, right? And they start hacking people's minds, literally. That's what religion and the schooling system does. It hacks you. It hacks you like a tapeworm, or a fluke, or a virus. Or in nature, you can find examples. Some bugs actually hack the nervous system of others and direct their path. There's some wasps, I think. They inject them with some neurotoxin that literally lobotomizes the victim, and then they drag them into their nest, and they lay their eggs inside of the host until the worms just come out. And there are other worse examples, that prey actually loses their fear of predators. There's some other, I mean, it's crazy, but it happens. It happens in nature, and humans are doing it to other humans. Again, um, I think it was Robert Harris who coined the term interspecies predators, right? Humans don't have predators anymore. What we have now is humans preying on humans, interspecies predators. That's what we have. But most people are not aware of this. They are like lambs for the slaughter. The wolves in cheap clothing, are behind the scenes, pulling veils in front of their eyes and marching them to the slaughter. You are their prey. And they use these divisive concepts and terms and ideas and politics and religion of binary. They use it to rule divide you, and control you. It's weird. It's weird to me. I've always fought against these ideas, and I never, even knew why. I always resisted the programming. I became actually very good in English when I went to school for the first time. My English teacher was amazed because I scored perfectly. Because I became very interested in English, because the TV programs was all English. There was nothing in my own tongue. There were some, but 90% was English, British and American. And I got exposed to the propaganda. What are they saying? What are these concepts? And I always, seen it through very critically. I never went along with it. Well, of course, there were some propaganda that I gobbled, of course. You are not immune to everything. But I always saw it very critically. And I learned the language because of that, because I wanted to know what was going on. Yeah. You know, I was having a discussion with someone, and there's no values nowadays. And I said to them, yeah, that's true. And they said, yeah, I'm married from some 20 years or something, and I'm an anomaly because I haven't divorced. All my friends divorced. Then there's no values anymore. And I said, yes, you know why? And they couldn't understand what I was talking about. Yeah, look at your TV programming. If you, for instance, in the TV series Friends, if you isolate the laughter, and the music, and you pay attention to what they are saying, they are talking about backstabbing, affairs, polygamy, mediocre. What's the expression? They are talking about pretty much men and women are streetwalkers. Streetwalkers. That's what they are saying. That's the values they're printing in everybody. You know, they're not printing respect, for instance. No, they're not printing respect in the audience. No, they are printing mediocrity and being what's the expression? A streetwalker. I always forget that term. And it's not just the TV program that destroys your mind, that is hacking your mind, destroying your values. It's not just that, it's also the schooling system. Yeah, like I just explained. It's all about hacking you because it's hackable. The psychophysical is hackable. The mind is hackable. The body is hackable. Everything that has a beginning and an end in time is hackable because it's temporary. But what is not hackable is the soul. That is not hackable. That is not, monetized. The mind, what they used to call the mind, but there's no translation in English. So the most closest thing to the mind is the soul here in this part of the world. So let's just call it, or the spirit of Sanctum, or the mind, or or the soul. Let's just call it the soul. The soul is not hackable at all. The soul only interest is in wisdom. The thoroughly, through wisdom, yes, the soul then becomes, what they call immortality. That's the only thing that is immortal, is the soul. And for that's their that's what they understood, the ancients. If you wanted to stop the cycle of rebirth, you have to hone your soul with wisdom, through recollection, through what they called apotheosis. You would the thoroughly liberated soul then would end the cycle of rebirth, right? But until the soul, is addicted to the physical, it will return over and over again. The Platonists also talk about this, and the Pythagoreans, etc. They talk about this. This is ancient metaphysics. Almost nobody knows about this. This type of metaphysics, was overthrown by the Abrahamic religions, for instance. They cherry picked some concepts that interest them, but again, it's based on identity. It's based on the psychophysical. For instance, the Abrahamics, they think they're going to be reincarnated or reborn in some other world exactly as they are, exactly as they see themselves in the mirror. But ancient metaphysics doesn't talk about this. Ancient metaphysics actually talks the opposite. You are not these forms that you see in the mirror. You are not these forms. You are not these forms. You are not your perceptions. This is our brain, perceiving the world. You are not that. That's just the psychophysical. Yeah, it's forms, perceptions, consciousness, which is the consubstantiality between matter and the soul. It creates this thing called consciousness, but consciousness has an end and a beginning in time, so it's temporary. It's the soul with a little s, the soul with a little s. We, in modern terms, we call it the ego or whatever. The modern, thinkers, they just recycle stuff from the past. There's nothing new, actually. Once you start digging, you come to the conclusion that everything new is actually bullshit. If you want to really know, the secrets of the universe, you have to study what came before. In analogy, for instance, in terms of food, food nowadays is all processed and it's disgusting. We should actually be eating anything prior to the Industrial Revolution, anything that was still natural. Because everything after the Industrial Revolution got changed through chemicals and processing. Yeah, that's why there's a rampage, rampage diseases. And these diseases are all the same. It's diseases of the modern culture. And they change their names from time to time, to bamboozle you again, to divide you. Yes. They will never admit, for instance, that the diseases are of modern culture, of the industrialized era, exposure to chemicals and frequencies and whatever. They won't tell you that because it goes against what? The pathological control grid. Consensus is not truth. Consensus is not reality. So anyway, be careful with these buzzwords. They are just there to divide you. Whenever I hear the term racism, I start rolling my eyes. Here they are again, hammering the dichotomous logic. It's either this or that. No, it's not. There's something else in between. Yeah? Don't jump in the bandwagon. The dichotomous logical could be analogous to a chess match. In the chess, there's only black and white. And you play against each other, What you have to do is get out of the chess square, box, whatever it's called. That's how you beat them. Anyway, do not participate. Do not enable them. That's what we should do. Find alternatives and just, but they seduce people like demons. Hey, you want to have a Mercedes? You want to dress, Hugo Boss? You want to have all, you want to live in an apartment, with a view to whatever bullshit. And you want to sit, if you want all of this, go through the schooling system, become a universitarian diploma, doctor, become part of what? Of their system. That's what, and you can have all these trinkets. So anyway, I think I'm going to shut up. I've been talking for 25 minutes. Have a nice day. And tell me what you guys think. I read all comments. I haven't shared my email because last time I did, I got, attacked almost every day, like every minute, with hundreds of mails about bullshit. And I was like, what the? I ignored everything, almost everything. But anyway, have a nice day.